Hey everyone, what's going on? West Productions 100 here, ranting about COVID-related stuff. In particular, I'm going to be ranting about universities and colleges. I did do a live stream at one point, but I decided to cancel that. And for right now, it's better just to do pre-recorded stuff. So I'm going to be ranting about, or talking about at least, colleges and universities with my experience with the COVID-19 situation. So when this all began last March, because I'm talking about the United States, the USA here. In my personal experience, a lot of this stuff began in mid-March or the second week of March, when like the lockdowns happened, the online classes happened. I was hoping that when I was taking the class I was, that they would be like discounted because it's online, and I didn't sign up for online classes. I signed up for in-person classes. So when they shut everything down and like everything was just closed, they didn't give us any kind of discount, any kind of reduction in tuition. So it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe I could let that slide. Some people didn't, though. They tried to file lawsuits against universities. I remember seeing news headlines about that. I thought to myself, though, I'm like, okay, well, let's see what happens in the fall semester, this past fall. And so I go to apply for a class, and I'm like, okay, well, given the circumstances, I'd rather just take one class anyway, because, like, first off, I'm not in a rush to graduate. That's one thing. Secondly, I'm trying to save money. I don't want to spend, like, too much money too soon, because to me it's like, why even bother doing that? So I go to apply for a class, and it's the same amount of money as if it was an in-person class. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm glad I only spent I'm glad I'm only taking one class, because this is ridiculous. Like, to have just just this one class, and like, or just any class for that matter, that's meant to be an in-person class, where in theory you should have access to all the facilities that the university provides, which you didn't either, because either the libraries were either closed or they were restricted. Their hours were restricted. Like, I know one of the libraries for my university was restricted on the weekends. Like, you couldn't even go there on the weekends, which, because of the partly due to COVID, but partly due to the unrest from the looting and from the rioting, which I thought was kind of dumb, to be honest, because it's like, why would they go after the library? And like, even if they did go after the library, it's like they're just gonna be looting the books and stuff like that, which they never did. So, and I highly doubted they were gonna loot like the library. The library is not even on like the first floor. It's on like the the seventh or the sixth floor of the building. So you have to go all the way up to the sixth floor in order to loot it. But whatever. So anyway, I decided to do this past fall semester, and it's like, what can I say? I essentially did an online class for a class that should have been in person. And I'm paying the same amount of money as if there's no pandemic going on, despite the fact that I don't have full access to the facilities that I would if there was no pandemic. So that was just really ridiculous to me. The thing with the class too was like, it felt like a lot of the work I had to do it like myself for the class. My professor wasn't a problem. My professor was actually very helpful, very willing to help us, and that's great to have. That's great to have a professor like that, or a teacher like that, because not all teachers are like that, unfortunately. But it's great to have a teacher like that. So I did get her help when I was able to. So it's not an issue with her personally. I don't have any problems with her. She's cool. I just have a problem more with the university and the system. Now, I understand that universities are a business. I understand universities have been hit hard by this pandemic, just like all kinds of businesses have been hit hard by this pandemic. At the same time, though, when you take all your classes and you put them online, and you restrict the hours and the you restrict the hours of your buildings, and you restrict in some buildings you just restrict them altogether. Like you don't even allow students going even into certain buildings, and just you do these things, but and yet you still expect students to pay the full price of tuition. Like sorry, but that's something to take into question. That's something to definitely criticize the university over, because it's like it's one thing to tolerate it when like you have full access to the buildings and there's no pandemic going on. But when there's a pandemic going on, then it's like, what the hell? So I'm thinking about what to do for next semester, and I'm thinking maybe just going through with it. I'm almost done with my graduate program, and the capstone class would only meet 4 times a semester anyway, so it's not like I'll be going there weekly, or I would be attending an online session weekly. It would be online, but I still have to do some double checking research stuff, like such as when the class is and does it interfere with my job work schedule. So, um, with that being said, though, I still have to express my frustration with the college and university system. Like it's frustrating to say the least. Yeah, like I'll go into more detail about it at a different date. But yeah, just to say that at the very least, the fact that they're still charging the same amount of tuition as if there's no pandemic going on. It's like, really, like you can't even give your own students like a break. Like, and once again, I'm like, they're charging you full tuition while they're restricting or denying access to certain buildings. And it's kind of like, it's just like, what are you even paying? What are you even paying for then? At that point, in my opinion, the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, there were flaws with the university and the college system in America before the pandemic, but the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated or exposed some of those they exacerbated pre-existing flaws, or they exposed other flaws that weren't really maybe noticeable, but they exacerbated other flaws with the system as well. So it's frustrating to say the least, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So I'll be figuring out what to do soon enough. So thank you for watching, everyone. Bye bye.